Well, right. So I did a degree in engineering, as you mentioned, and at that time, this is back, I did my degree at Bristol. God, it seems like so long ago now. And I was umming and ahhing, should I go down the engineering route or not? And I did a year out with Ford Motor Company in there, sponsored by them. And I thought, well, I'm not sure if it's really me. And I thought I wanted to go into finance. I thought, well, there's, as a naive young 21-year-old, 20-year-old, I thought, oh, there's perhaps bigger money in finance, that type of thing. And I thought, well, that could be attractive. But I suppose at the time, it wasn't really the money that attracted me. I saw my girlfriend at the time saying, oh, I'm going to go and become an accountant. I thought, all right, then maybe that's a good thing to go into. So I just kind of followed suit. It wasn't particularly strategic at all at that point, but I thought, okay, that could be a good path for me. So I joined Coopers & Lybrand at the time in London, eventually transferred or converted into PwC at that point. And so that's how I started. I did my articleship with them. So I qualified, went into management consulting at PwC, then I went into investment banking. I thought, okay, that's a good career path. And I thought, well, obviously, as again, young 20-something, okay, it's, everyone wants to get into banking, it's good money, all these exciting things. But then the reality is when I got into it, I thought, this isn't really me, okay? I didn't really enjoy it. I thought the culture, the long hours, didn't really fit in with how I wanted to live my life. So, but it was a great experience at the time in my early 20s. Oh God, I had arguments with my dad who was saying, you must be nuts, what are you doing? I've never seen so much money you're earning at your age. But I just had to do it. And I just recently got married and my wife was very supportive in that process. And I said, I want to do my own thing. So I remember going into the bank I was working at the time, going to see the MD, and I said, I'm going to hand my notice in. He said to me, well, which bank are you going to join? Okay. And I said, I'm not joining any bank. And everyone in the team was like, are you stupid? Okay, you're doing so well, you're making so much money. I said, oh, you know what, it's just not me. I want to do my own thing. Fortunately, I was quite wise. I hadn't blown all my bonuses and all that type of thing. I'd saved it. I knew in the back of my mind I wanted to have a backup plan, have the money in there, because when you start a business, you need cash or you need to be able to live. And that's what I did. And slowly and surely, we developed and evolved from that point. Again, down to women. So my wife, okay, she was a dentist, and I spoke to her, met with her friends, and I could see there was a lack of financial understanding, lack of business acumen. And I thought, well, okay, she's my first client. Let me see if she has friends. And that's how it kind of evolved and started in that sector. And what I identified in that sector was that there was a lack of financial acumen. There was no one particularly focused on that sector in great detail. And they earn well, they're good payers, they're a trusted profession. I thought, oh, all of these things look positive. So that's kind of how I started and developed. It was my wife, but then my first real client I remember getting, this is quite a funny story. And I trained at PwC, Coopers & Lybrand, and I'd worked in audit, and you deal with as an auditor, you tick boxes and you deal with all these kind of systems, okay? And so then I remember getting my first client. It was a client in Essex, and I'd gone to see her, and she said, yeah, I'll become your client. And she very quickly came out behind the desk and gave me this massive box of papers, and I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, what do I do with this paper? I have no idea how to prepare a set of accounts from scratch, okay? So then what I decided, well, I'm not going to learn how to do that, okay? The whole premise of when I started, I wasn't going to learn how to prepare a set of accounts. It was pointless. That's not my strength, I realized. So the first thing I did, I kind of put an advert at the job centre, okay? And it started interviewing people, and I got my first team member to join my team at that point, and he joined me at my dad's dining table. I think since we were such a niche sector, so I was very focused on a niche sector, getting those clients was slower, okay? Because you'd have people who might approach you who might be a builder or an engineering company or tech company, and you'd kind of say, well, I'd like the business, but then you think, well, you know, it doesn't really fit in with what I'm trying to do. So it was a slower build up to get the clients. But what I realized once that slowly built up, that trust kind of came into the sector, and so then into the dental sector, we're well, we've been going a long time now and people know us and hopefully respect us and like what we do. And so that built that brand, and I think that was a good learning curve. And even though it was slow at the beginning, I think over the long term it's been hugely beneficial to us being so focused on a niche. Yeah, of course. I think a large part is manpower. Okay, getting the right team member. You hire team members that you think are going to change the world and make things amazing, and then you realise that you should have got rid of them earlier, or moved them on earlier on, or you had other team members that come in and disrupt, or even move on and steal clients, and all these types of things. And I think I'd like to think I'm a pretty laid back type of person. I'm very driven, but quite laid back at the same time. And I always try and see the good in people, okay? And perhaps that's my weakness rather than, and sometimes people take advantage of that, but you live and learn. I think that the danger is people just think about accountants as the compliance side of things and just crunch the numbers and do a tax return, okay? But if you're going to really run a business well, you need to understand the drivers of business. And that's what a good accountant will understand, and that's then quite strategic in the decisions that you make as a business owner. So a good accountant, that's one of the reasons why we went into it quite deep into a niche sector, because the deeper you go into a sector, the more knowledge and understanding you have of a sector. Whereas if I was trying to advise a tech company one week, a dentist another week, a engineering company another week, I don't have the depth, okay? And you can't really provide added value advice to people. But if I've dealt with, like, literally over the last 20 years, must have been approaching 1,000 dentists or dental clinics and stuff, or not far off it. And we've seen everything, okay? And that gives us such great insight to know what to do and how to negotiate if they're buying a practice, or how to price things in their practices. You name it, we've seen it. And I think that's been a really big advantage for us, and therefore for anyone younger entering the profession, is that rather than just stick at the compliance, they need to go deep and find a path that they enjoy. It could be strategic advice, it could be performance management, it could be tax, it could be anything really, okay? But ultimately at the end of the day, the client will value advice if you value what you do as well. Yeah, it did. And sometimes someone would, especially when I started out in the early days, in the first 5-6 years, people would look at me, oh, you're quite young, what do you know about running a dental clinic? But then I said, well, because one of the reasons we got such in-depth knowledge is that my wife runs her own dental clinic. So I'd see on a day-to-day basis the problems, the issues, and how we'd solve them in her clinics. If we could solve them in her clinics, we could then solve the problems for other clients. And I think that's what people really appreciate, is that we've got skin in the game ultimately. We've made the mistakes there, we've tested it out, and then we can provide advice to other people. That's the key bit. They skim the surface of a business, and there are other people who are in the dental space, but they deal with doctors, they deal with everything. They don't really have the insight that I do, okay? And if they don't have that insight, they will never be able to provide that in-depth advice. So I suppose I'm quite lucky that I've had that opportunity. So now if I look at my accounting firm, we run, as a result of it, we started off a commercial finance part of the business, because we saw our clients wanting to borrow money to buy new dental chairs or equipment, or they wanted to buy another clinic. So I thought, right, so I hired a team member who used to be at RBS, who dealt with healthcare and dental clients, and he joined the team. And now we've kind of run a commercial finance brokerage, pretty much for dentists nationally, okay? In addition, we then run a buying group. So we've negotiated with many of the suppliers in the dental space saying, well, we'll give us good terms for our clients, and then we'll get people to try and buy through you. So they benefit, the client benefits, and we benefit. So that's gone really, really well. And then also we run a brokerage. So in terms of people want to sell their dental practice or buy a dental practice, we're kind of sitting in the middle to advise either side, okay, or support that brokerage side of things. So by being so in-depth, you can then start offering quite a few services to people, which other people don't really see or don't really know how to do. You do that, and then you realise, oh, that didn't work out, or that wasn't a good idea. And but you learn as you go along, okay? And I'm also still a believer that you've got to try things to know, okay? And for every 9 things you try, one out of 10 will actually fly. So I'm a big believer in experimenting and testing things, and if you don't try, you don't know. I think as I've grown older, I'm enjoying running my firm now more than I ever have before, because I've made so many mistakes along the way, but you learn from those mistakes and you realise that you don't want to make those same mistakes again. I'm sure there'll be other mistakes I make, but I'm very excited about the future. And then also having a team that's reliant on me, okay? They work hard, I want them to do well. I can pass on down my experience and wisdom to them. So, as you said earlier, I can't see myself ever retiring unless health comes in the way. I enjoy it too much, and I love the idea of sharing thoughts, sharing experience with people, and that just keeps me going. Otherwise, if I stop, I'm a bad golfer, so I'm not going to do that. I could travel, but the nature of the world now, if I look at my team now, my business, I'm a pretty much remote business. My UK team are dotted all across the UK. My team is in India, they're dotted all across India. So I can be sitting here in London, or I could be sitting in Timbuktu if I wanted to with my laptop, because everyone's remote, okay? And as long as I can connect and talk to people, and I think that's been a really exciting phenomenon as well, that you don't need to be tied down to one space. And so next month I'm going away on a trip to South America, but I'll be on my laptop talking to my team when I need to keep in touch with them. And that's kind of how I love that flexibility. And by having my own firm, okay, so I don't answer to anyone else, okay, I don't have any investors, it's me, okay, and I've been approached by PE and all these types of people over the years, but I've realised that once you give that away, even an inch, they'll take a mile. So for me, having that freedom is hugely valuable to me to do how I want to run my firm. So many years ago, I started to outsource to India through third-party firms in India, and it kind of was, those days we didn't really have cloud accounting, it was a bit hit and miss, but we were trialing it, we were trying to get things working, and it worked okay. And then over the years, the costs were rising in India, the quality was diminishing, and I'm thinking, you know what, I've had enough, it wasn't working. So prior to COVID, I decided I'm going to end my relationship with any suppliers in India and bring it back to the UK. That was a massive mistake, okay, because when I did that, I couldn't find any people to join my team. And if I did find people, it seemed to be a revolving door of people just coming and going. I just couldn't find a stable team here in the UK. So then I thought, well, I could go back to India again, but this time I'm going to do it myself. So that's what I did. So I set up a company in India, which is a subsidiary of my UK company, and started to understand the labour rules and started to hire people out in India. And I hired my first person, got a director, and then now we're a team of almost 40. And honestly, that's been a game changer for my firm, because I've got a stable team who are motivated, driven, and they can do the job. They work UK hours. They're liaising with clients directly. Historically, I'd have been very nervous, should they be talking to the clients? And when I did it the first time all those years ago, I didn't let the clients know that we were using people in India. Now I'm very open about it, saying, if you want to work with us, we have our team in India. We don't have the resource here to do it. The team in India will do it. They're capable. They know what they're doing. They're qualified to do this. We obviously do have team members in the UK, but the work that you want doing for this situation will be done by such and such sitting in India. And that's been really, really positive for clients, because ultimately what the client wants is the job done with a friendly person on time for a reasonable fee. And that's worked really, really well for us. And I can only see that continuing further. For example, there's one player in the market who's well known in the sector, and I know they struggle with resourcing and manpower like we did. So I reached out to them saying, if you need any help, we can actually provide help to you through our team in India. And initially, I was thinking, well, I wasn't sure whether they were interested in it or not, but now they're saying, Aaron, you know what, you've helped us so much, okay, in enabling them to grow by us providing a back office team for them sitting in India. So sometimes you might take one path with the dental clients, but now we're actually helping other accounting firms, even direct competitors, I guess, with their needs. Because I just see the market is huge, and I don't need all the market. I just need a sufficient slice of the market that keeps me going and keeps me happy and supports my team. I think I've become an expert on what type of servers you need to have, based in which countries and how to do it, to GDPR rules, to which colleges in India you want to be targeting, which cities in India you should be targeting for manpower. Honestly, there's so many things that you pick up along the way, and which part of India is the right part to set up an office in. And it's been a really eye-opening experience, and as you said, it's a wealth of knowledge that you build, which you can then share with other people if they need that help as well. It does. There's no doubt about it. So I think obviously you can price it differently. Firstly, advisory work tends to be higher ticket items, higher priced items. I think people, if you understand the sector in depth, people will then say, okay, I can see your experience shines above here. So a great example is, we deal with so many dental clients, as we mentioned, and pricing of their services is a massive issue, okay, for many firms. Many underprice themselves, or they don't know how to price themselves. But we have pricing models, how to look at that based on their overheads, based on other metrics out there. And so we have that insight and knowledge. So then we provide a service to clients to say, how can you price your services for maximum profitability, as an example. And that's hugely valuable to them, because then suddenly we've done the in-depth analysis, we then provide them the report, we provide them what price they should be charging for a filling or a crown or an implant or whatever it may be. And then when they then see the impact that has on their profitability, it's like, wow, why didn't I do this before? Okay, so that's just an example, okay? But in order to be able to offer that type of service, you need to have your foot through the door with the compliance side of things, because that's a norm. You need that. That makes it so much easier to upsell the other services. Okay, if you don't have that foot through the door already, it's actually quite difficult to do it. I wouldn't say I'm an amazing leader in any way apart from it. I think over the years you build experience, okay, and I've learned. I remember this is something I always stuck in my mind. When I was an arrogant 20-something starting off my firm, I thought you knew everything, okay, and I'd come from investment banking. It's all about profits, okay. As you grow older and you realise and you build a business, it's nothing to do with profits, okay? It's absolutely nothing to do with profits. It's not even anything to do with clients, to be honest with you. It's about the people in your team, okay? And that's what I've learned over the last 20 odd years, is that my job is to find the right people in the team, get them on the bus, okay, and then have a direction to drive it forward, okay? And listen to that team. They're the ones who are supporting you, and my job is to support them. Because if I can support them and help them achieve their aspirations and goals, then they'll do everything that you need them to do for the clients, okay? So whether that person's sitting in the UK or in India, doesn't matter. It's more about being there to support them, okay, and helping them on their journey. And I think that's been the biggest learning point for me over the last 20 years in terms of leadership. I guess it is to some extent, okay, because it's on a remote basis, but I go to India about 3 to 4 times a year. I think in India, one thing that's very evident is that remote working has grown massively in India, because if you're based in a city like Bangalore or Delhi or Mumbai, the actual commute is actually, even if you're based there, to commute from one place to another could take 2 hours each way. So people in India want that flexibility. They want to be able to work from home. And we've kind of embraced that, so that's fine. Okay, we've got the technology, the internet, we've got all the security things in place, and they respond well to that. So what I found is that they do great work. They're very effective. They're very responsive. As long as I listen to them, I understand what their needs are. So I have to look at the needs of each person And you can't just kind of blanket saying that everyone's going to come into the office. Far from. We have an office in Delhi, but honestly, like 2 people go to that office in Delhi, only because they live nearby, because they want to get out of the house, but everyone else just is dotted all across India. So far, every year I go to India, we do a kind of a big kind of get together. So we fly them from various parts of India to a place, to a city. So last year we did Goa. This year we've just done Udaipur, which is kind of the city of palaces in India. Next year, who knows where we'll go? It might be beyond India. We might go to Thailand or Vietnam or something like that. And similarly, for the UK team, we do exactly the same. We don't go to it. Last year we took them to Valencia, for instance. So it's about getting people together, and I think it's important also to trust people. It takes you got to trust that they're going to get the job done. I'm really not interested in how many hours people work or to be seen at the desk. Can you get the job done? Okay, whether it takes you 1 hour a day or 10 hours a day, just get the job done. That's ultimately the outcome, is what you're after, and then people can manage their own time. So my example, my team here, they're very busy with their children or that type of thing. That's fine, absolutely fine. They'll work around their hours. So I think you have to be flexible, you have to listen, and ultimately you have to trust your team. So specifically into the accounting sector, I guess, yeah. So I think yeah, so numerous challenges, I'd say. So in the sector per se, here in the UK, US, Canada, those types of places, I think resourcing is certainly a challenge. Trying to find good people, hence why I went down that route of setting up offices and people in India. But I also think AI is certainly in the game. Everyone's talking AI. Okay, no one really knows how it's going to impact to some extent, but I think that an accounting firm today may well not be an accounting firm in the future, might be more of a technology firm if people step up to the mark. So if I look at my team now, I've hired data engineers in India now who are helping us understand what we can do with technology to streamline processes, make things more efficient. And I think those are the challenges going ahead. And I think we're not that far off from when there'll be an AI accountant who's probably just as capable as me in answering so many questions and doing things. Ultimately, you still need someone to review the work, which will still involve people, but the manpower issue will change. It'll be a different dynamic. So I think it's an exciting time for those that embrace it. For those that try to resist it, I think they'll be kind of dead in the water, to be honest. And you evolve as a firm, so then you might have more time to do added value stuff, that, as you said, the higher ticket items, to analyze the information and build that, help a company or help a business run their business better. And I think it's not just about analysing the numbers. You might then start thinking, okay, how can they grow their business? Is it the pricing? How do they get more customers? How do they get new clients? Or do they go to new markets? It could be a range of things. So the accountant isn't really an accountant. Going forward, the accountant label shouldn't really be there. It's going to have to be a trusted business advisor going forward.